Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to all of you in my sixth lecture for this course, PE-414. In the previous lecture, have discussed the fractional flow equation, and basically we have derived the equation and we have reduced the equation for the most simplified case. And the most simplified case was the case when you had both oil and water were flowing horizontally, and the effect of capillary forces were negligible. And for the simplified case, we have seen that we only need relative permeabilities and viscosities of water and oil to calculate fractional flow of water. And in that example, the correlation for the relative permeabilities were provided to us, and basically we have seen that we first assume some saturations, and we have assumed saturations between the Cougnet water saturation and the maximum water saturation, which is water saturation at the residual oil saturation. So we have assumed saturation between the Cougnet water saturation and the residual oil saturation, and against the assumed saturations we have calculated the relative permeability through the correlation, and after that we have calculated the fractional flow of water, and we have plotted the fractional flow of water versus saturation of water. And basically we have seen the use of this graph. We have seen that we draw a tangent to this graph, and from the point of tangency we estimate SWF and FWF, and from the tangent at FW is equal to 1 we calculate SW bar, and we have seen what does SW bar means and what does SWF means. And we have also seen that higher the SWF and SW bar, the higher the oil recovery you can expect from a given flooding process. And we have seen that SWF is the saturation of the waterfront, and basically it is a saturation with which the waterfront is moving inside the reservoir, and SW bar is the average saturation of water behind the waterfront. And basically we have seen that higher this SWF and SW bar number, the higher the oil recovery from a given flooding process. And basically in the example we have also seen the effect of oil viscosity and the effect of water viscosity on this fractional flow curve. And we have seen that when water viscosity increases, the fractional flow curve will move to the right side. Similarly, we have also seen that when oil viscosity decreases, the fractional flow curve will move to the right side. And basically we have seen that whenever different fractional flow curves are provided to you, you can select from this graph that the graph which is on the extreme right basically will show that this is the most ideal case, and the graph on the extreme right will indicate that from this process you will get the maximum recovery of oil. So by plotting the FW graph, you can basically estimate the most efficient displacement process out of many options. So the graph which is on the extreme right will indicate that from this process you will get the maximum recovery of oil. So these are some applications of fractional flow equations and fractional flow graphs, and we have seen those applications in the previous lecture. There are other parameters too which changes the FW value, and we will study this initially in this lecture. This is a generalized equation. We have derived this generalized equation in the previous lecture, and only QT value, the total flow rate, has been replaced with the injection of water. Obviously when you have the steady state condition, the total flow in the reservoir will be equal to the injection of water you are injecting from the injection well. So this is a generalized equation, except QT has been replaced with injection of water. Other terminologies are same: relative permeabilities, viscosities, absolute permeability, capillary forces, dip angle. So we have discussed the individual terms in the previous example. Generally the effect of capillary pressure is neglected because the capillary forces are very small. Obviously when you have the Darcy flow, the Darcy forces basically results from the difference of pressure between obviously the injection well and the production well. So Darcy forces basically arises when you have hundreds of psi difference between the injection and the reservoir pressure, and but the capillary forces generally are in the range of tens of psi, 40 psi, 50 psi. In many cases it can be as high as 100 psi. But capillary forces are generally very small as compared to Darcy forces. As I have mentioned, that Darcy forces are in the range of hundreds of psi. So whenever you have Darcy forces, capillary forces are negligible. So you can ignore that in this equation. So the above equation will reduce. So the fractional flow equation, when you do not have capillary forces, the equation will be like this. And this is the difference of densities between the water and the oil. Alpha is a dip angle. And for the displacement of oil by gas, the fractional flow equation will be like this. Again, rho g minus rho naught is the density difference between the gas and oil. For water case, this density difference will be positive, because density of water will always be higher than the density of oil. But for the gas case, this term will be negative, because density of gas will always be lower than the density of oil. So these are two equations, one for water flooding and one for the gas flooding. In this equation, most of the things are related to the given rock fluid system. You cannot play with absolute permeability, you cannot play with relative permeabilities, many times you cannot play with the oil densities. So majority of the terms are related to a given rock fluid system which we cannot change. But the things we can change in this equation are water injection rate, water viscosity, and the direction of the flow, which is up dip or down dip condition. And direction of the flow basically indicates that how you have located the position of the injection well. So for example, if you have located the injection well at the top of the pay zone, so your flow will be down dip. So you're injecting your injected fluid from the top portion, so the injected fluid is moving downward direction. In other case, when the injection wells are located at the bottom of your dip reservoir, which means the flow of injected fluid will be up dip. So direction of the flow means how basically you have positioned your injection well. Similarly, we know that we can play with water viscosities. Similarly, we can play with the injection rate. So the injection related parameters are in our hands and we can play with it. But oil viscosity, reservoir area, reservoir thickness, for example, we cannot play with the reservoir related things. So now we will see the effect of these three things on the fractional flow of for example water. But obviously you can relate this similar thing for the gas case. So gas injection rate, gas viscosity, and direction of flow for the gas injection well will also affect the FG. But for right now we will be seeing the effect of these three things on FW. So for example, on the bottom slide you can see there are two figures, and these two figures are showing the effect of water viscosities on the fractional flow of water, and these two different graphs have been plotted for different wettability system, one for the strongly water wet rock and other for strongly oil wet rock. So regardless of wettability, you can see the lower the oil viscosity, the fractional flow curve will be on the extreme right. And obviously we have seen this thing when we were doing the example. We have changed the oil viscosity and we have seen that with decrease in oil viscosity, the fractional flow curve moves to the right side. And so you can also see that regardless of wettability of the rock, whether it's water wet, whether it's oil wet, the lower the oil viscosity, the fractional flow curve will be on the extreme right. And we know that out of these four fractional flow curves, the one on the extreme right basically is the most efficient displacement process. So for a given system, when the oil viscosity is lower, you will have the highest recovery. So from the graph on the extreme right, you will get the maximum recovery of oil. Basically, regardless of the system variability, the higher oil viscosity results in a upward shift in the fractional flow of water. We have also seen the effect of higher injected water viscosity on the FW curve, and we have seen that with increase in water viscosity, the FW curve will move to the right side, and basically it indicates that with higher viscosities you will get the highest recovery of oil. So now we see the effect of dip angle on the FW curve. To understand the effect of dip angle, which is of alpha on the FW curve, we have simplified the equation in this form, where x and y are the collection of different terms. So x is basically is a collection of these terms, and y is a collection of these terms. So the equation becomes has been simplified in this form. So first case is the up-dip flow. Up-dip flow means basically sin alpha is positive, and basically figure in the last slide shows that when the water displaces oil up-dip, which means injection well is located down-dip. So this is the basically a diagram of the up-dip flow. The injection well of which is water injection well is located down-dip. So you are injecting water from the injection well, which is located in the down dip, and water is moving up dip in the reservoir. So this is called the up dip flow, when the injection well is located down dip in the reservoir. So in this case, basically you have the more efficient displacement process. Obviously when you have this type of thing, the gravity, as we have seen that gravity either assists the production rate or resists the production rate. So when you are injecting water through the down dip well, which means water is moving up dip, so because of the gravity segregation, water will not flow very fast in the reservoir. So in that case you have the efficient displacement process. Or again you can see through this equation that through the up dip flow you will have a decrease in the FW curve. And again we have seen that a decrease in FW curve means that FW curve will move to the right direction. So when the injection well is located down dip, it is the most suitable case as compared to the case when the water injection well is located up dip. So when water, for example in the case when the water is injecting from the injection well which is located up dip in the reservoir, which means now water is moving down dip. So in that case obviously the gravity will push water abruptly or greatly, because water has higher density as compared to the oil. So water, because of the gravity pull, will flow more easily or quickly and will bypass your oil. So when the injection well is located up dip, which means the water is moving down dip, basically you will have viscous fingering in the reservoir and you will have an early breakthrough of the water. So this graph will basically indicate what I am saying, that on y-axis you have fractional flow, on x-axis you have saturation of water, and these three graph for different dip reservoir. The base case is no dip, and we have seen no dip is the case when you have the horizontal flow of both oil and water. So for water flooding, the favorable condition is the up dip flow, and up dip flow means that injection well is located and down dip in the reservoir. So when you have the up dip flow, you have the efficient displacement, because in up dip flow of during the water flooding, the gravity will pull water behind the oil and water will not bypass oil, and water will break through in the production well at later stage as compared to the no dip or down dip condition. Obviously in down dip condition, when you are injecting water from the top of the reservoir, water will flow more easily because gravity is now assisting the flow of water also, because water is denser. So water will reach to the production well, which is at the bottom, much earlier as compared to the reverse case when the injection well is bottom and production well is at the top. So you have to keep in mind the effect of dip on the movement of water when you are designing your injection when you are designing your injection fluid, because based on the density, gravity will like one fluid more as compared to the other fluid. So for water flooding, the up dip flow is basically will give you the highest recovery as compared to no dip and down dip condition. But for the gas flooding, basically you required the reverse phenomena. Gas is less denser as compared to oil. So these are the two cases basically. One is for the down dip flow. Again, you can see in this case you have the down dip flow, but the injection well is located at the top structure, and the other case is the up dip flow, but the injection well is located at the bottom structure. Since gas basically is less denser as compared to oil, so gravity will not basically push or pull gas more as compared to oil. So the ideal condition for gas flooding is that the injection well should be located at the top structure, which means you have the down dip flow. So during gas flooding, the ideal case is the down dip flow and low injection rate to take the maximum use of gravity. So if up dip flow, high injection rate to enhance the displacement efficiency. We will see the effect of high injection rate in the coming slide. So it is written that in up dip flow, basically if you are injecting gas, obviously gas is lighter than oil, so the gravity, because of the gravity segregation, gas will move upward and oil will move bottom. So gas will bypass your oil and will reach to your production well earlier as compared to the first case. So up dip flow for gas is not required, but up dip flow for water is required. And in many cases, basically you cannot basically change the position of the injection well. So for example, you have only this up dip flow condition in the reservoir, which means the injection wells are located at the bottom section of the dip, and you only have the gas as injected fluid. So in that case, if you are injecting gas in the up dip flow condition, you will inject gas at higher injection rate to basically displace oil towards the production well. So if you have to inject the gas for the up dip flow condition, so you will inject gas at a higher rate to force oil towards the production well. So this is the second thing you can do if you have the up dip flow. But obviously the ideal condition is that you have the down dip flow for the gas flooding and up dip flow for the water flooding, because in that case the gravity will support your oil production and you will have the later breakthrough of your injected fluid. So this is basically the ideal condition. You will inject water at the bottom section of the reservoir, and you will inject gas at the top section of the reservoir. Basically in that case you will have the maximum use of the gravity forces, and you will have the production well at the center of the reservoir, and it is the most ideal or the efficient displacement process out of all flowing condition. Effect of injection rate, you can also take the use of injection rate to enhance the recovery. And for example, during the down dip flow of water, when silane alpha is negative, oil is displaced down dip, which is injection well is located up dip, the term x sin alpha upon IW will always remain negative, which causes an increase in the FW curve. It is beneficial therefore when injection wells are located at the top of the structure to inject the water at a higher injection rate to improve the displacement efficiency. So this is basically an explanation of this case. For example, you have production well at the bottom structure and injection well at the top structure, and you know that when you inject water, the gravity will push water quicker because water has higher density. So water will bypass your oil and will reach to your production well, which is at the bottom section of the reservoir. But to enhance recovery in this case, you will inject water at a higher rate to force oil towards the production well. So when you have the down dip flow of water, you will inject water at a higher injection rate to improve the displacement efficiency, and vice versa. When you have the up dip flow of gas, which means the injection well is located at the bottom section of the structure. So when you have the up dip flow of the gas, you will inject gas at a higher rate to force oil towards the production well. So when the injection wells are located at the top of a tilted formation, the injection rate must be high to avoid oil migration at the top of the formation. For horizontal reservoir, we have seen that sin alpha is 0, so the injection rate has no effect on the fractional flow curve. So the effect of injection rate can only be observed through the dip angle, but when you have the horizontal reservoir, the effect of injection rate is 0 to your fractional flow curve. So now we have discussed the fractional flow equation, and we have seen how fractional flow of water changes with water viscosity, with oil viscosity, with injection rate, with the dip of the reservoir, with the up dip and down dip flow. So basically the other objective during the water flooding is to calculate the position of the front. For example, when you have injected water for 30 days, you want to know where exactly you are in the reservoir. After 60 days, where is the position of your waterfront? After 90 days, after, for example, 4 months, 5 months. So you need to calculate the position of the waterfront at the different time of injection, and obviously you also want to estimate when your waterfront will reach to your production well, which means when will you have the breakthrough of water. So to estimate the position of waterfront and to estimate the time of breakthrough, you use Buckley-Leavitt solution, which is called the frontal advance equation, and we will see that frontal advance equation basically combine your fractional flow equation. So before using the frontal advance equation, you should be able to understand the fractional flow equation, their responses, their effect, and once you know the fractional flow equation, you can combine that concept in frontal advance equation to calculate the position of the front at different time. So in a water displacing oil system, the equation determines the velocity of a constant water saturation traveling through a linear system with following assumptions: immiscible flow, horizontal flow, negligible capillary pressure, incompressible fluids, constant viscosity, homogeneous rock, permeability and viscosity constant. So the equation, the frontal advance equation, has been derived assuming these assumptions and assuming that the oil is being displaced by water. So this is a simplified equation, and again I have told you that through this equation you calculate the position of the waterfront in the reservoir at different times. And again the principle is simply the mass balance. The equation is derived based on developing a material balance for the displacing fluid as it flows through any given element in a porous media, and we know that volume entering the element minus volume leaving the element is equal to change in fluid volume, and considering a differential element whose length is dx, area is a, and porosity is phi. So during a differential time period dt, the total volume of water entering the volume is given by, so volume of water entering the element is equal to Qt, the total flow rate, multiplied by the Fw. We know Fw is the ratio of Qw divided by Qt. So Qt will cancel and you have Qw, water flow rate. And when you multiply the water flow rate into dt, you will get the water volume. So by this equation you are calculating the volume of water entering the element. Similarly, the volume of water leaving the element through this equation, Qt is the total flow rate, Fw minus dFw is the change in the fractional flow of water. So volume of water leaving the element by this equation, when you subtract two equation, that will give you the accumulation of the water volume within the element in terms of the differential changes of the saturation dFw. This is the equation, and when you simplify this equation, this is the final version of the equation. Dx upon dt, which is the velocity at a particular saturation SW, equal to 5.615 qt phi a, and again this is the dfw upon dsw at a saturation SW, and symbols are written that VSW is the velocity of any specified value of SW, feet per day. A is the cross sectional area, Q is the total flow rate, oil plus water, and we have seen that total flow rate is equal to the injection rate of water, because during the steady state IW will be equal to QT. So QT will be changed with IT with IW, and this is basically the slope of FW versus SW curve at SW. So in order to calculate the position or the velocity, you need the slope of FW versus SW curve at a particular saturation, and these are constant and given provided to us. So we will see how basically we estimate position or velocity. So the above relation suggests that the velocity of any specific water saturation SW is directly proportional to the value of the slope of FW versus SW curve evaluated at SW. The total flow rate QT is essentially equal to the injection rate IW, and through this equation we can calculate again the basically the velocity, where QT has been replaced with IW. To calculate the total distance and at any specified water saturation will travel during a total time t. So basically this is the equation to calculate the position of the waterfront or the position of any particular saturation of the front. You need time, you need injection rate, you need porosity, you need area, and you need basically the slope. Again, this is dFW upon dsW. So you need the slope of FW versus the SW at a given saturation. And since we also know that cumulative water injection is basically T times IW, so the position of the waterfront can be calculated from this equation. And basically how to calculate slope? So basically again we need to draw a tangent to this curve at a particular saturation, and from this tangent we can calculate the slope, and slope is calculated from y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So you take any 2 points on this tangent, and the tangent is drawn at a particular saturation, and this is the saturation at which you want to calculate the position of the front. So basically you draw a tangent, and from selecting any 2 points on the tangent you can calculate a slope, and that slope will be used in this equation to calculate the position of the waterfront. So either you use the above equation or the bottom equation. So either you use IWT or you use cumulative water injection to calculate the position of waterfront, or the position of basically any water saturation. So we will use both things. So for example, you want to calculate where you will have the 70% water saturation during the water flooding process. So you know that SW is equal to 70%, which is 0.7. So first you need the slope of FW and SW graph at 0.70. So from this graph at 0.70 you will estimate a tangent, and from the tangent you calculate the slope, and basically from the slope and knowing the injection rate and other thing, you will calculate the position. That for example, after 30 days your position of SW is equal to 70% will be here, and after for example 2 months that position will change from here to here, and after for example 6 months of injection your position of 70% water will change from here to there. So that's how basically we use this equation. We will basically see in the coming slides too that how we calculate the position of the waterfront. This figure basically shows how water will move inside your reservoir As you can see, at different times the waterfront position is different. During the early time, the water is near your injection well. As time increases, the waterfront is moving towards the production well. Obviously, a time will come that when your injected water will reach at your production well, and this is called the breakthrough of water. And basically, through frontal advanced equation, you can calculate the position of waterfront at different times. So for example, at a given time where your waterfront is present in the reservoir, and basically you can see that SWF is written. SWF, we have seen that is the minimum saturation required by your waterfront to move inside the reservoir, or in other words is the saturation of the waterfront. So you can see at time t1, basically your front is at some distance from the injection well, and basically the front is moving with SWF. So ahead of the waterfront, you do not have basically water in reservoir. The water is at around this distance, and the saturation of water at the front is SWF. At time t2, this front has moved from this location to this location, and again the saturation of water is SWF. So again, this is a minimum saturation. Obviously you can have higher saturation than SWF, but we do not have lower saturation than SWF. So SWF is the saturation of your waterfront, and this is the minimum saturation. And obviously it changes from case to case. We have seen for one case it was 0.64, another case it was 0.42. So higher the SWF, higher you will have the recovery. So through frontal advanced equation, you will calculate the position of your waterfront at different time during the injection. You have the injection well, you have the production well, the distance between the two well is L, and through frontal advanced equation we can also calculate when this waterfront will have breakthrough in your production well. So we can also calculate the time when we have the breakthrough of water. We will see in the coming slides. So this is basically the summary on how you calculate the position of the waterfront. And again, you need to memorize the steps by yourself, because in the exams you will have to do it by yourself, and it is very easy. So you will draw a graph of FW versus SW, and we have seen how to plot a graph. And you will draw a tangent, and we have seen how to draw a tangent. And from the point of tangency, you read the values of SWF and FWF, and we have also done this exercise too. So all these three steps, the first three steps we have done in the example, and these are from the fourth step, these are the new steps you will do to calculate the position. So you will calculate the slope basically at, for example, at SWF. If you want to calculate the position of the waterfront at different times, so you will need to calculate the slope of the tangent at SWF. So again, you have the tangent, you calculate the slope by y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, and this is the slope at SWF, because you are interested to calculate the position of the waterfront. So at SWF you will calculate the slope, and you have the formula. So through the slope, and you know the injection rate, you know the porosity and area, and by placing different time values you will get the different position of your waterfront at different time. So initial time you will have the waterfront will be near injection well with different times. With increasing time, the waterfront will move towards the production well. So at different times you can calculate the position of the waterfront, and obviously for all times this slope will be constant. So the slope at SWF will be a constant value. The only thing that is changing is the time. So at different time you can calculate the position of the waterfront. IW and porosity and area will also be a constant. So so if you are only interested in calculating the position of the waterfront, you will repeat steps from 1 to 5, and that's all. But if you are interested to calculate the position of the front whose saturation is higher than SWF. So basically you will draw a tangent to your selected SW which is higher than SWF. So you will draw a tangent at SW. You have basically selected that SW by yourself, that I want to calculate the position of the front at that particular SW. So you will draw a tangent at that SW and you will calculate the slope, and that slope will be different than the slope at SWF. So this is the slope at the saturation at which you now want to calculate the position of the waterfront. So this slope will be different, and now using that slope you can calculate the position of that particular saturation, and that particular saturation will be obviously be behind your waterfront. We have seen that behind your waterfront you will have higher saturation. So at the front you have the minimum saturation, that SWF, and behind the front you have different saturations. And if for example, if you are interested to estimate the saturation, for example, that at this point at this saturation you want to estimate its position, so behind the front you are calculating the position through this equation using the slope at that particular saturation. And obviously you can basically select another saturation and calculate its position too, and the process will remain same. So at any saturation which is higher than SWF at a given time, you can calculate its position too. You first need to choose a saturation slope from the graph, and from the slope you estimate its position. We will be doing the exercise in the coming slide. So for example, you have been asked to calculate the saturation of water 0.7, 0.6 and 0.5. These are water saturations have been given to you, and you have been asked to calculate its position at the time of water breakthrough. Since we have plotted a graph, so we will be using that previous graph, and we will be using a graph for oil viscosity is equal to 1 centipoise. So for oil viscosity 1 centipoise, we will be using the graph, and we will be calculating the saturation. We will be calculating the position at these saturations, and we will be calculating the saturation at different times, 60, 120 and 240 days. Injection rate is given to us, area is given to us, and again we have to go back to the FW and SW graph, and we know that from the FW and SW graph the minimum saturation is 0.64, the SWF, which means that your waterfront is moving with this saturation 0.64. So reservoir will not have any saturation of 0.5 and 0.6. So in the flooding zone the minimum saturation is 0.64. In the flooded area you do not have any zone whose saturation is 0.5 and 0.6. So it is obvious that 0.5 and 0.6 water saturation do not exist in the reservoir at any location, as waterfront is moving with a saturation of 0.64. So we can only calculate the position of water behind the waterfront for saturation is equal to 0.7. For water saturation equal to 0.7, we can only calculate its position. Centipoise is wrong written, so water saturation is 0.7. So what we need to do, we need to calculate the slope at 0.7. So we need to draw a tangent at 0.7, and from that tangent we estimate its slope, and slope is simply selecting 2 points on this line, and y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, and slope turns out to be 0.9. So now we have the slope at 0.7, and through the equation we can calculate its position. So we know the injection rate, we know the time, and we know the slope now. So the equation becomes this, and we know the slope, so equation become further reduces to this. So at different time, first we place 60 days, we will have the position of water, and for 120 days we will have different position of water, and for time related to 240 days the position will be different. So basically at different time we can calculate its position through the previous equation, and this one I have copied from the book. So the minimum saturation from the book example was as 0.596, but for your case the minimum saturation was 0.64. So when you plot your graph, so the minimum saturation will be 0.64, and you will have a different water saturation behind your waterfront. Again, you can see that at a given time, for example at 60 days, you will have all saturation between 1 minus SOR and SWF. So SWF is the minimum saturation of the flooded zone, and 1 minus SOR is the maximum saturation of the flooded zone. So at a given time in the flooded zone, you will have all saturations. Similarly, at different time the flooded zone has changed, but again the saturation will be lying between 1 minus SOR and SWF. Similarly, at some higher time the flooded zone has increased, the flooded region has increased, and in the flooded region you have all saturation between 1 minus SOR and SWF. Again, you can do same calculation for oil viscosity is equal to 10 centipoise, and you can also calculate the water saturation profile for different times. You know the area, you know the injection rate. You first go to the graph, and from the graph you will calculate the SWF and FWF, and again SWF is 0.42 we have calculated during the example calculation, and this 0.42 say that this is the minimum saturation of your waterfront. So in the flooded region, the minimum saturation is 0.42. So now basically behind the front you will have the water saturation of 0.5, 0.6 and 0.7, because now they do exist in the reservoir behind the waterfront. So you will calculate basically slope at 0.5, 0.7, 0.6 saturation. You will draw tangent, and from the tangent you will calculate slopes, and the slopes are obviously shown over here. And from the slopes, and you know the equation, you know the time, injection and other parameters, so you can calculate the position of the water front of the saturation of your interest. So that's how basically you use the frontal advance equation to calculate the position of waterfront and the position of any saturation in the reservoir at different times. Again, obviously we haven't done an exercise where we calculate the position of waterfront. So if you want to calculate the position of waterfront, for example of these days, for example, where will you have the waterfront after 60, 120 and 240 days, so you need to calculate the slope at SWF, which we haven't done it. So for at 0.42 you have a tangent, so you will calculate the slope at SWF, and you will use that slope to calculate the position of the waterfront, which is X, the position at SWF. We haven't done it for 1 centipoise oil or 10 centipoise oil, because I will be giving you in the exercise. You will calculate the position of waterfront at different times for different viscous oil. We have done exercise to calculate the saturation of our interest behind the waterfront. So we have calculated the position where you have the SW is equal to 1.5. We have calculated the position where the SW is equal to 0.7, and the process is similar. You need to calculate slope, and from other fixed values you calculate the position. Again, you can also calculate the time of breakthrough. So again, basically you will use L. L is the distance between the injection and the production well, and you will replace your X, the position of the front, with L, and rearranging the equation to estimate time. So equation becomes this. So from this equation you can calculate the time of breakthrough. So for to calculate the time of breakthrough, you need porosity, area, L, you need injection of water, the water injection rate, and again the slope, and the slope is calculated at SWF. So again you can use this equation to calculate the time of breakthrough. Again, this is a simplification. This is the pore volume of the reservoir, so you replace porosity AL divided by 5.615 with pore volume. The equation becomes this, and many times IW multiplied by the time is the cumulative water injection. So basically, if you want to calculate the cumulative water injection at the breakthrough, you can use this equation to calculate the cumulative water injection at the breakthrough. Similarly, you can also calculate Q, cumulative pore volumes of water injected at breakthrough, for which you only need the inverse of the slope calculated at SWF. So these are some more examples of the fundamental advanced equation that you can calculate the time to breakthrough, you can calculate the cumulative water injected at breakthrough, you can calculate the total pore volumes of water injected at breakthrough. So equations are given to you. You know how to calculate the slope at SWF, and you will calculate the required things. So first you will calculate the pore volume, you will calculate the time to breakthrough, pore volume, injection rate, the slope at SWF. Similarly, you will calculate the cumulative water injection at breakthrough, simply multiplying the injection of water multiply with the time of breakthrough. And in order to calculate the total pore volumes of water injected at breakthrough, you simply inverse the slope of at SWF. This all from my side for this 6th lecture for the PE-414. Thank you.